Welcome to Office 365 Beyond the Basics, Part 2. This is the second video of 3 that reflects what Bob Marks and Renee Codner presented on February of 2019. In the first video, we covered the Office 365 universe, and then focused on SharePoint, OneDrive for Business, and OneDrive Sync. In the second video, this video, we're going to focus on Skype for Business and Teams. Please check out the third video in the series where we're going to go in depth on Microsoft Flow and PowerApps. So let's talk about Skype for Business. This is a very different animal than plain old Skype. Skype for Business was formerly known as Lync, or Microsoft Lync. When they purchased the commercial version of Skype, they renamed Lync as Skype for Business to differentiate between the old-fashioned commercial Skype, which was much more limited, and Skype for Business, which is a complete suite of enterprise-level communication features. Skype for Business today includes instant messaging, IM or chat. It shows presence support, so you can see whether the people you're trying to communicate with are in a meeting or out on vacation or available. It supports business with desktop sharing and content sharing. It allows for voice and video chat capability. You can even use Skype for Business in an enterprise phone environment to replace or augment your VoIP system. You can use Skype for Business to broadcast webinar information and even record your sessions for later review or sharing. So why use Skype? Well, in my opinion, email is a pain. There's just too much of it. There's too much spam, too much garbage. You get so much of it that it's easy to ignore. It's not nuanced. It's not immediate. It's hard to share or instruct through email. And it leads to file propagation by sending and using the attachments inside of email to send copies of documents when they really should be sharing links. Going back to the younger users dislike and prefer persistent or consistent chat, Microsoft has done studies that show that younger 20s and 30-year-olds really dislike email a great deal, much prefer persistent chat. Where email is a pain, Skype can be a pleasure. It's very easy to use. It's available in all of the Microsoft access models, mobile, web-based, and desktop. It too has message retention. It works seamlessly out of Outlook. You can do document review, go on sharing things remotely, like WebEx type interactions. You can create shareable recordings and so on. If you're looking for a way to better communicate, be better in touch with your clients, not have to travel as much, get the immediacy of a voice call or even a video chat, Skype is where you want to be. When you load Skype for Business on your local machine, it actually loads up and it sits in your system tray. Normally it auto loads at startup, so it's always available, just like your email might be. You see the little green arrow at the bottom of the Skype, or the little check mark. It also shows your presence. In here, you can see where Bob Marks is available. Calls or messages simply pop up on the bottom of your screen, where you can either take them or choose to ignore them. Either way, the message is recorded and available for later. The chat window allows for the recording and desktop sharing, whether you want to use your camera or whether you want to use your phone, just audio. And under the ellipses allows you to set up recordings of your meetings. And it's an ongoing chat window, just like you have on your phone. On the home screen, this interface allows you to set up meetings very easily. You can also do Skype meeting setup right from your calendar inside of Outlook. You can create a contact list for your favorite people. You can invite participants, add people to your conversations as you need more people involved. You can set document or desktop sharing and set, as we said, video and audio or text. And you see missed calls. If allowed, you can set the presence information and retrieve past text messages and look at conversations. All messages that take place within Skype are recorded for later and for CYA kind of purposes, and these conversations can be stored inside of your Outlook. In fact, Skype is such a handy utility that some of the best features of Skype are now being integrated and expanded in Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams was introduced in 2017, and it's grown to be one of Microsoft's most popular and growing applications. It basically is a combination of the strengths of SharePoint's data management and sharing capabilities. It takes all of the communication power of Skype and builds on that. It includes OneNotes and the organizational power that that application brings to bear. It allows for the convenience of web and mobile device communication, and it really has taken the place of the old-fashioned distribution lists and group emails. Distribution lists are being demoted throughout the Microsoft universe. How might you use Microsoft Teams? Well, as we had talked about under the concept in the first video of me, we, and all of us, Microsoft Teams allows you to create smaller groups of focused people, call them departments maybe, or particular smaller projects or jobs. Maybe you have a task force for doing the holiday party that wants to get together and have a place to save documents and communicate effectively. It allows for direct communications to clients because external users can be invited into Teams. It allows you to share those documents with external users as well. Maybe you have a task force set up for issue management or resolution, and you want to create a small group focused on that. You can do that through Microsoft Teams. In order to truly understand how Microsoft Teams is organized, what its origins were, how to use it, you have to understand a few definitions. We have to understand how Office 365 groups are related to Microsoft Teams, what team sites might look like, and the Teams applications, or the applications that you can find on the web, on your mobile devices or your desktop that calls up the Teams sites. Office 365 groups work with Teams. It's sometimes confusing, but Teams is just one of the applications that can use Microsoft groups that are created inside the Office 365 tenant. Okay, think of the Office 365 group as a user container, but its uses go far beyond simply Teams. Teams evolved after Office 365 groups. In fact, early on, Office 365 groups were a feature of Outlook where you were creating groups and shared folders to do away with the old-fashioned distribution lists. But Teams borrowed from the ability to create these groups, and today, when you create a team, you have a choice of either creating a new Office 365 group of users, which we call members, or connecting to an existing group. Now, if you happen to have had a group, which also gave you an email address and perhaps some file capabilities and calendars and OneNotes and so on and so forth, the new team organization may not be able to bring all of the information from the existing Office 365 group into your new teams. So that's just something to remember and bear in mind. Now, a user can belong to many teams. Teams can be permanent or very temporary. Teams can also be private or public. A private team is one that's by invitation only. A public team you can join from the outside. A user can say, I want to be part of that team, and put their name in and become part of that team. A lot of teams, though, are held in a much more controlled fashion, and are private teams where the owners can be the only ones who can allow new members to join. And as we said before, external users can be members of the team. Team sites, group team sites, the kind that we're discussing in this section, look like this. And we'll focus on the various capabilities of the site and what kinds of things it can bring to you. Now, you may have heard of other kinds of team sites in SharePoint, classic team sites and modern team sites and so on. These team sites in SharePoint are not what we're talking about. We're talking about Microsoft Teams or group team sites. How does one find or access your Microsoft Teams site? As I said before, Microsoft offers 3 different flavors, if you will, ways, avenues to get to your team. And these are either through a desktop app, which you download to your PC and have it loaded and open throughout the day. You can access your team through a web browser. or you can have it available on your mobile device. Key features of Microsoft Teams is the ability to see all of the teams of which you are a member laid out in front of you. Here, for instance, you can see maybe 6 different teams that this person is a member of. And there's messages or client updates. In Team Gemini, there's 2, and in Team Orion, there's 1. Real-time conversations happen through the chat window. This is a Skype for business on steroids kind of environment, okay? You have IM, video conferencing, audio conferencing, and so on and so forth. But here, you can also add text formatting, bolding, underlining. You can change different GIFs and stickers and emojis to make your conversations much more exciting and much more modern. Each of these communication channels for each team can be subdivided into what we call channels. So there's multiple communication channels within each team. So even though you have a small group working on a single thing, you might even subdivide that more by having certain people just interested in the technical part, or perhaps the issues resolution, or however you want to divide your team into even subgroups. It's kind of like having, using a football analogy, the defensive conversation and the offense and special teams conversations all going on underneath one big team. The activity view allows you to keep abreast of the things that are happening today. So these are the 3 activities that I haven't looked at yet, or I haven't clicked on yet. So it brings them and keeps them front of mind. Microsoft Teams is integrated with Outlook. So when you go to your personal calendar or want to schedule something from within Teams, you see what is happening in your Outlook calendar so that you don't double book yourself. And things that you set up in Teams then show up in Outlook. Inside of each team is an area for files. As we had said in the area of me, we, and all of us, Microsoft Teams is an area where you can store files and documents that are just meant for your department, your group, or your special case, okay? Now, because teams are sometimes disbanded, and when you finish with a team and you perhaps want to discard the team or delete the team, it's important that you archive or move the files, if they're still important to you, into something else so that you don't lose your files when you disband the team. Finally, if you're still looking for a distribution list or a group mail email address, it's available because each team will have its own email address. So simply emailing to that one email address, all members of the team will get that email. There are a lot of other additional features for group collaboration and communication within Microsoft Teams. We had mentioned that each team comes with a OneNote notebook. If you haven't checked out what OneNote team notebooks are, or OneNote notebooks, you should really explore that application. It's like an electronic 3-ring binder to keep all of your bits and pieces all organized, like a scrapbook where you can drag and drop cuttings from documents, whether they're Visio documents or email clips or pieces of Microsoft Word or Excel documents, all brought together in one environment. There's a Planner app built into Microsoft Teams. Planner is just one more way of setting up tasks, assigning tasks to particular users, and then tracking whether they're being performed, whether they're on time, and so on. There's direct access to streaming video services. So within Microsoft Teams, it can access Stream. You can set up team wiki pages or information that is just pertinent to perhaps that operational group. Some information that is just helpful to that team. Finally, there's a feature called Who, which uses Microsoft Delve, another feature of Office 365, to help you do an AI search to try to find people within larger companies who might have the information that you're searching for. Delve and Who uses artificial intelligence to monitor what people are working on, so that if you have a question and have a keyword that you want to search on, it may be able to find who in a larger company is your expert. That concludes the second video in our 3-part video series here on Office 365 Beyond the Basics. I encourage you to watch the last video, which covers Microsoft Flow and PowerApps, and I thank you for viewing this second video.